Have you ever thought to yourself, man, I love the FN SCAR, but you know what, I also love the AK-47. It'd be really cool if maybe I just had something right in the middle, like maybe if they got together and had a baby, or maybe if a manufacturer like FN brought us something like the new individual weapon system chambered in 264, oh, maybe that would be the perfect rifle to beat the LICC Spear? Let's talk about it. Welcome back, everybody. Clint today with Classic Firearms, here to talk about, is this like FN's shadow entry to the NGSW, or is this something completely different? And ultimately what I'm talking about is that new individual weapon system and the lightweight intermediate caliber cartridge of that 264 cartridge, or 6.5 by 43 millimeter, which is, again, pretty interesting, and we'll talk about here in just a moment. But like I've already talked about multiple times throughout multiple videos, the next-gen squad weapon system that LICC ultimately procured is an interesting design, right? The LICC Spear, LICC Spear LT, all of that type of fun stuff. Well, FN, which we saw earlier at SHOT Show this past year, and we're doing a little bit of a video about it now, and there are some articles and other videos out there about this system, but there's something pretty unique overall about the individual weapon system from FN. And I had to take quite a few notes on this as I was doing my research, because there's a lot that went into the design and development of this firearm, which was ultimately developed for the Irregular Warfare Technical Support Directorate, which was formerly known as the Combating Terrorism Technical Support Office. So sounds pretty official, right? Anyway, on their actual website, the IWTSD's website, the Irregular Warfare Technical Support Directorate, their overall statement is that the IWTSD identifies and develops capabilities for DoD to conduct irregular warfare against all adversaries, including great power competitors and non-state actors, and to deliver those capabilities to DoD components and interagency partners through rapid research and development, advanced studies, and technical innovation and provision of support to U.S. military operations. First of all, that seems like a very long run-on sentence, but enough of that. Anyway, sounds to me like this is ultimately a weapon system that's designed to be utilized not in your everyday fighting force or your conventional warfare, but that irregular warfare that will most likely be something you don't hear about on the news, if you're asking me. So what exactly is it that the Irregular Warfare Technical Support Directorate wanted? Well, FN provided the IWS. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. First of all, let's talk about that chambering, which again is that 264 or 6.5 by 43. Compare that to 6.5 Creedmoor, which is 6.5 by 48 millimeters. You get a pretty similar cartridge. But will that small difference actually mean a whole lot downrange? I don't know. It shows quite a bit of a difference with 7.62 by 35, 300 blackout. Compare that to 7.62 by 39. So perhaps, maybe, I guess. So there is that. Now, there are a couple of cool things about this chambering that they do offer some, again, unique things. First of all, it's a two-piece stainless steel head and body design. They went with stainless steel because, well, there was a weight reduction, a fairly significant weight reduction and weight difference between brass. Okay. However, your reloading capabilities are pretty slim to none when it comes to steel, because it doesn't bend and mold as well as effectively as brass does. So again, a stainless steel or a steel cartridge reminiscent to the AK, kind of like what I hinted at in the intro, right? Pretty interesting if you ask me. Okay, there's going to be, as of right now, 4 different loads, 4 different projectiles, and what we've got is a 130 grain reduced ricochet limited penetration round, a 109 grain copper open tip match, and a 120 grain copper open tip match, and a 125 grain soft nose. So, okay, they've got these different chamberings with these different loads for probably different jobs, right? Because they are offering in 3 different configurations. There is a 11.5-inch close quarters battle rifle, a CQB rifle. There's a 14.5-inch carbine and a 18.5-inch Recce/DMR offering. All of these are going to offer different weights as well, anywhere between 7 to 9 pounds, depending on the configuration. So maybe the difference in the cartridges are obviously for the mission. Maybe you want that little bit heavier load to deliver more velocity, or I shouldn't say more velocity, but maybe more of an effect onto the target with that shorter barrel, or maybe you want it to carry that energy on a longer barrel. I don't know, there's things to be discussed here that we can talk about in a later video. So what else about this gun is pretty unique? Well, unlike the FN SCAR, which utilizes a short-stroke piston-driven operating system, this utilizes the notorious, the proven, reliable, long-stroke operating system that we find in the AK-47, which, again, pretty interesting if you ask me. So that's neat because the long-stroke operating system is renowned for, well, its reliability and running fairly clean also, which is pretty nice. Cool. On top of that, they're also partnering with a couple of other manufacturers. One for the ammunition, which, by the way, I forgot to mention, there's not a whole lot of specifications coming from FN or who's making the ammunition. So I don't know what's true out there and, you know, what the capabilities and performance are of the different rounds. So there's that, all right? But they are working with different manufacturers, from what I understand, to actually get the best cartridge. So I'm assuming Hornady's probably in the mix, maybe Federal, maybe... I don't know, there's probably a few of the big names that are in there, right? So again, just assumptions at this point in time, but I would actually really like to get that 6.5 by 43 and compare that to the 6.5 Creedmoor and just see what that does. Maybe one day we'll have all these things that I'm talking about, including the weapon system, at the warehouse one day. Fingers crossed, okay? All right, so utilizing a long stroke piston driven system, they're also partnering with, from what I can tell at SHOT Show, is Huxworks for a silencer design. One of the demands from the IWTSD, is that right? IWTSD, I got it right. From the IWTSD was to make sure that this gun is, well, not shooting any louder than 140 decibels. And we recently did our, Huxworks versus, Surefire silencer review, and both of those silencers, and according to Huxworks on their website, are coming in at under 140 decibels to be 139.9 decibels to be exact. So checking the box there for it shooting under the 140 decibel limitation. Got it. Hearing safe mostly, right? Okay, cool. So who knows who else they're partnering with? Obviously, it looks like Magpul also on the magazines. It is going to have to be a completely, different design as far as a lower receiver goes, because not only is the magwell completely changed, but the ambidextrous controls and how the gun takes down are also pretty unique. One thing I noticed about the ambidextrous controls, like the ambidextrous bolt release on the right-hand side of the gun, looks like it's actually kind of at the bottom front of the trigger guard, which is kind of a unique placement compared to that of like the SIG Spear, the SIG Spear LT. Notice on the SIG Spear, right here is your bolt release. So having the bolt release a little bit further down here, I'm kind of curious about, quite honestly. But anyway, and we'll talk about the SIG Spear here in just a moment also. Okay, so continuing on, complete ambidextrous controls, which also means an ambidextrous charging handle. And what you'll notice is kind of different compared to the SCAR is the location of the charging handles themselves. It's not at the top of the and front of the gun. It's actually what would be considered like the top of the lower receiver and, well, kind of a little bit further back, which is nice. I think that's a pretty ergonomic placement, having not actually gotten any hands on the gun just yet, but I think that's a pretty ergonomic placement in comparison to the FN SCAR because, well, that was always a big problem, especially back when it had the reciprocating charging handle, which the IWS does not have a reciprocating charging handle, or I should say reciprocating charging handles, plural, because there's one on each side. There's no swapping or anything like that. All right. Cool, I'm good with that. So again, ambidextrous controls completely all the way around. Even as far as the stock, another demand or what they wanted was, hey, they wanted a QD install of a stock that can also flip to the left and right side of the gun, which again, I think is pretty cool. Let that be an option available to those of us that are the end users ultimately going to be shooting the guns, right? especially our military personnel that might be utilizing these jumping out of an airplane or whatever else. I mean, they're already jumping out of a perfectly good plane. They shouldn't have to worry about which side their stock is going to fold on so it doesn't interfere with their gear or the parachute that they ultimately need to survive their drop to the earth. So, you know, I like the idea of it being folded to the left or to the right. Cool. And with that, again, a QD install, so it sounds to me like it could be quickly swapped out for a different stock, maybe a non-folding precision stock, something like that maybe, perhaps. I don't know. The reason I bring that up is because FN also with like their SCAR 20 design, being that a precision rifle, that's a fixed stock, even though it utilizes a piston-driven system, short stroke, that you don't need to have a stock there for the gun to operate, just like the IWS, even though it's long stroke. But they said for precision, they don't want there to be any movement in the stock. Which is funny because the FN Ballista, which was their long-range precision rifle, bolt rifle, did have a folding stock. So anyway, okay, continuing on. So another unique feature about this is I've already talked about the 3 different configurations or upper receivers that are going to be available for the IWS. What's unique is it sounds like they want it to be a field swap quick one lever action takedown or separation between the monolithic upper receiver, again all one piece. That 12 o'clock Picatinny rail runs the full length of the rail receiver because it's all one piece, and M-lock attachments, which is pretty cool. But they want that to be swapped out really quick from going from that 11.5 to that 18.5, utilizing what looks like just one lever on the right hand side of the receiver. And again, pretty cool if you ask me. But I also wonder, like, how easy, how difficult is it to manipulate that? I get wanting to make it a quick, you know, change if need be, depending on whatever your mission is, right? I totally get that. But at the same time, if I'm just crawling around in the dirt, maintaining a low profile, and a rock or something hits that lever, is my gun going to open up on me too? Again, I have questions. Maybe they'll be answered, and maybe we'll see some trials with this firearm coming soon. I don't know. Okay. What else do we have about this guy here? I already talked about the 7 to 9 pounds, modular upper receiver, the QD stock assembly, and the folding left to the right side, and of course the long stroke piston-driven system, the Huxworks, or at least a flow-through designed silencer that looks to be Huxworks that we saw at the booth. Again, we couldn't get really good images or filming done on the LICC or the IWS because it was just in this brightly lit box at the FN booth. But when we walked by, we noticed it, it caught our eye, and we were like, that's different. Why aren't we hearing about this? That's because it's some secret squirrel type of stuff, I guess. I don't know. So interestingly enough, but again, utilizing that long stroke piston driven system, I'm going to bring it up again because I think that's, well, pretty unique when it comes to this type of firearm for the United States military, not so much in their belt feds and whatnot, which, by the way, there is the lightweight individual carbine assault machine gun, AMG, also that's being developed side by side with the IWS here. So that's pretty interesting also. If you'd like to see us kind of do a deep dive into that also, let us know down in the comment section below. And what I'm really hoping for is, because, well, we're on pretty good terms with FN, that maybe I can reach out to them, and since they're just right next door in Columbia, South Carolina, maybe we could go tour the facility and see these guns in action. Granted, I don't know how much they would be willing to release to the public, quite simply because when it comes to these, let's just say, specifically demanded firearms for irregular warfare, we're probably not going to be releasing a whole lot of information about it until maybe something's actually confirmed. I don't know. We'll see. So with all that being said, let me know what you guys think. Do you think that the IWS and the LICC, that, you know, individual weapon system, the lightweight intermediate caliber cartridge, are going to do anything to maybe like knock the SIG Spear off of its pedestal, right? I mean, the SIG Spear is a cool gun, don't get me wrong. This one being chambered in 7.62 NATO with the Leupold Mark V HD and the BCM and my Magpul bipod. You know, it's a really cool gun. You also might notice too that the stock on this is a little bit different than what comes on it. It's not the Magpul with the little buffer tube folder. This is actually an A3 tactical side folding stock, skeletonized, really cool. It's a lightweight, strong design, and A3 Tactical makes some really good stuff. So check out their stuff if you're curious for some extra furniture and whatnot. But anyway, do you think the IWS and that, you know, 264 chambering is going to compete to maybe perhaps the 277 chambering of the SIG? I don't know. I think it'd be a pretty interesting video. Maybe we could do a 277 versus 6.5 Creedmoor versus 264 one day on the channel with each, you know, weapon system too. Pretty cool if you ask me. Anyway, I'll see you guys down in the comment section all about your thoughts about the IWS and the LICC at Rumble. Go ahead and do that. And don't forget to tune in Monday nights, Monday evenings with me on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and yes, of course, Rumble now for some Monday night live streaming. And we chat about everything gun related, 2A related, music, movies, whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll do it. And you can talk with Kaya on Wednesdays typically. And I would say Facebook, we stream there too, but they've really been slapping us on the wrist a lot lately and banning our channel, then we get it back again. So make sure you're following us at, well, I guess it's not Twitter now. I guess it's X or whatever. Thanks, Elon. I don't know what to call it now. I think it's just X. I'm still going to call it Twitter though, so whatever. Anyway, at least follow us at YouTube and Rumble. You'll be covered there in Twitch, all right? So we'll leave it off there, guys. God bless you. Thanks for tuning in. See you down in the comment sections, and we'll see you next time at Classic Firearms.